What's up, people? I am back for another video. This is a movie I have not watched in a long time. It's been, I maybe 10 years, 12 years. Today we're reviewing The Fifth Element. I remember watching this the first time as a kid and just not really understanding what was going on because I had already seen Die Hard, and I already knew Chris Tucker from Rush Hour. So I was like, I just remember watching and enjoying it. But over the years, I started really appreciating the movie. The fact that it's directed by Luc Besson, who also did another movie I reviewed, Kiss of the Dragon. Totally two different types of movies. But that shows how good of a director he is, though. And this story is it's not a big IP movie. This movie was just off the name of Bruce Willis, and Mila Jovovich was coming up as Lilu. It's a unique story in the sense that it is like a kind of an end of the world type of story, but it's not like your traditional one. And Corbin Dallas isn't your typical lead, and I mean it's Bruce Willis, but so the premise is every 5,000 years, Earth is gonna be attacked by the thing called the Great Evil, and the aliens called the Mondo. I'm gonna fuck up a lot of these aliens' names. Mondo Shawans show up. These special effects and the aesthetic, and I think mostly what's known for this movie is the song that Diva sings, the alien lady sings, and Chris Tucker, who he did play a lot of Chris Tucker. He kind of played himself, but he did a good job of doing it in a way that actually fit within the universe. This didn't feel like just another Chris Tucker movie, which, don't get me wrong, it's not a negative necessarily. It's like a way to show how good of an actor you are, where you can actually play a different character. I mean, Tiny Lister is the president, who had done Friday 2 years before that, and in this movie, the fact that he plays the president, he played it straight, he played it great, was awesome. Solid cast. Ian Holm, who he was also in Alien, the original, as android. So every 5,000 years, the only thing that can stop the Great Evil is a thing called the elements, and they need the fifth element. And now in 2263, Earth is the Mondo Shawarans, while delivering the elements, gets attacked by the Mangalores, which I really love the alien designs in this movie. Very unique, and it almost feels like, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but very much like a callback to old, what people think a movie in the future would be. The craziest designs, but they actually fit. And the special effects for the aliens were great. And it's not your traditional action movie. It very much, there's action in it, but it's not it's more of a it's almost like one of those movies where you just look at this crazy universe and world we're in. And I think Luc Besson did a really good job with that. The unique designs, just the setting, I just love it. It actually feels like you're in the future, even though this movie came out in 97. It's an interesting movie, and I would have loved to have seen it at the time. But so scientists are able to take one of the last pieces and basically make Lilu. She escapes, runs into Corbin Dallas, who's in the military, and basically has to try to protect Earth and protect Lilu. And yeah, Mila Jovovich as Lilu did a really good job. The fact that, because in the beginning of the movie, she doesn't speak English. She's kind of speaking in tongue. And then the fact that she goes from that to even speaking a little bit of English. And mostly she's known for, besides this movie, she's known for the Resident Evil movies, and the fact that in this she does a really good job, like, and gave us one of the best lines, multi-pass. And I got another thing I gotta really give a lot of props to is Gary Oldman as Zorik. He was fucking great as the bad guy, like, and the fact, like, that scene where he's talking to the father about what he wants to do with the stone. He basically just wants chaos. He's just a simple villain. I kind of miss that. Like, I'm gonna start eventually here, like, reviewing like old action movies, and I think one of the things, like, I really like about a lot of those movies, granted I'm not lumping this in with those, is the bad guys just were bad guys. They weren't like, oh, they're conflicted. I'm not saying you can't have your villains who have, like, oh, we're gonna go into the why. Like, not saying you can't have that, but it is kind of nice sometimes just to have a person like Zorg in this movie. He's just a bad guy. He just wants the stones for himself. He even turns, because he was working with the Mangalores, but turns on them. And his death is pretty funny. So, but yeah, one of the greatest movies ever, and I heavily recommend it if you have not seen it. It's just watch it just for the, like, the world. And I think that's really what it is. Like, the story is good. I'm not, like, saying downing the story or anything, but just watching it, just like even the scenes, like, where you're just in Dallas's apartment, you're just looking at, like, that futuristic world they're in, and the special effects are great. It actually ages really well. Like, it looks really good. And yeah, the girl who played Diva did a really good job. Like, when she was singing, they did a good job of, like, changing her voice to where it actually sounds futuristic. It doesn't sound like, oh, we're just gonna get a singer and just have it. Yeah, but all around great fucking film. One of Bruce's best, probably my second. I'm lumping Die Hard and Die Hard 3 together, but my second favorite Bruce Willis movie. And Bruce, it's unfortunate he had to retire, but the legacy he's gonna live on, like, that he left, I think he's done enough to where, you know what? He's done enough to retire, and he was great in this movie. And the scene where he has to shoot out with the Mangalores, it does almost just become like a Bruce Willis movie almost, but nothing wrong with that. But yeah, great fucking film. But I'll be talking about that more when I get started on the review. My next video will probably not be until Monday. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm probably gonna do a Jackie Chan movie. I just don't know what yet. But other than that, we're gonna get started on this review. Cheers. So the movie opens up. We basically are in 1914. We see a sign, like a people looking into a tomb, and then this is where we get our first look at the Mondo Shawans getting ready for the big evil, and we actually get a little cameo from Francis from Malcolm in the Middle, and so they take the stones, which are the elements, and basically tell the guy to basically that you gotta leave the message leave the message of that basically warn them of the great evil coming. Like, the fact that it's like a kind of like a prophecy movie, but they don't go the typical route with it. It's the same thing with a sci-fi film. I would not call this like your typical sci-fi film. So after that, we have a time jump to 2263. We meet a president. I'm just gonna call him President Devo, just for this review. And the scene where we see Dallas for the first time in his apartment is just so, like, they did it, like, the set design is some of the best I've ever seen in a film. Like, if I ever did a list of best set design in film, this would be up there. They, like, the attention to detail, and even just Dallas's apartment, it doesn't just look like a normal apartment you would see, like, even at the time. They made it look like it's futuristic. Um, but the Mondo Showans are trying to deliver the deliver the elements to back to Earth. Um, this is where we meet Father Cornelius, who actually knows of the because he's the current information holder. And another thing about these movies, they knew how to. I always bring this up with these big kind of concept films. They knew how to like, explain the concept well. They didn't make it overly convoluted, but they don't make it like they don't explain it to you like a retard either. Like you need to like, oh, we gotta talk to you really slowly, use small words. But they also don't overly complicate it. They make it like just easy enough to follow. Like that scene where Father Cornelius was talking to the president. The way he was talking about, like, oh yeah, you follow this. But while that happens, the Mangalores attack the Mondo Showans and try to steal the stones. See, they steal the stones, and um, after that happens, this is where they find a piece, and the scientist is able to extrapolate that and basically make Lilu. This is where we get the birth of Lilu, who I really like. Well, not just because it's Mila Jovovich, who's hot as fuck, but just all around, like the little attention to detail, even um like the coloring of her hair, like the in general, like just in like the design for like the costumes and everything. They really like Luc Besson went out of his way, and the designers for sure. Like they made it like so futuristic. Um, they try to experiment on her. She freaks out. She breaks out of her thing, escapes. And like yeah, another thing, this movie is almost about 2 hours almost, and it goes. You know, like I'm not one. You can if you can make a movie 3 hours, but keep the pace perfect, it's fine. Like this movie goes. Like we're already at the scene where she meets Dallas pretty much, um, and she's being chased by the space police. This is where we get our first look, kind of, at like the flying cars and stuff. But before all that, the scene with Father Cornelius and Zorg was really good. Like it's just every scene that Gary Oldman like is on screen, he just eats it up and just delivers such a good performance. And probably one of my favorite Gary Oldman perform. It might be my favorite. Granted, I do really like him as Gordon in the Nolan trilogy, but he's such a good bad guy. He always like brings it as the bad guy, you know. And in this, the way he explains why he wants the stones, he just simply wants chaos. Like he just wants what he wants. So that was a really good scene. So Lilu, this is where we meet. She meets Corbin Dallas, who's a taxi driver. We get a chase between her and the police, and like the comedy in this movie is done really well. Like a lot of these older movies, I always mention this, but it's just I hate to repeat it, but it's just I have to constantly say it because it's true. These older movies knew how to do humor back then. They didn't just do like joke after joke. Like, okay, we're gonna do a quick joke here, cut and move on. Like while the cops are chasing Lilu, they stop at like a McDonald's and get some drinks. That was pretty funny. When Dallas loses them, the cops run into like a McDonald's truck and they get all like and the car gets all like covered in like McDonald's food. Like that's funny. It's quick humor. So after that, Lilu passes out and he takes her to Father Cornelius, and this is where we get the scene where he wakes her up with a kiss, but she pulls the gun on him. But even now, there'd be weirdos out there that, oh, you can do that, even though when she wakes up, she pulls a gun on him. But anyway, but just such a good movie, man. And the chemistry between Mila Jovovich and Bruce Willis, this is really good. Even for like the fact that for a girl who doesn't speak any English for like the first half of the movie, the fact that like their chemistry is really good. Like you actually buy them together. So before when the father realizes who she is, he kicks he kicks Dallas out the room, and this is where we basically get a little bit of information from her, and she starts speaking English. The scenes where she's like adapting to like Earth food and stuff is pretty funny. So while this is happening, Zorg is actually selling weapons to the Mangalores, who for giving him the stones, but it turns out they are unsuccessful because Lilu explains that that she switched, that the stones weren't with the Mondo Shamans at all. That they gave it to the diva who's a singer, and Zorg freaks out at this and basically turns on the Mangalores, blows them up, and the remaining ones decide they're gonna get the stones for themselves just to stick it to Zorg. Like, that scene was fucking awesome. Like every scene Gary Oldman is in, he just fucking kills it. And the fact is, like, he can be such a badass, and a lot of the designs are like, you could say, oh, they're fucking ridiculous, but he's still an effective villain. I mean, his haircut and all that, whatever. He's a fucking great villain in this. So after that, Dallas gets asked by General Monroe to do a mission and protect Diva at the Holston Paradise. While this happens, Lilu and Father Cornelius arrive at his apartment. You kind of get a little bit of a funny scene where Bruce has to like do two things at once, which is kind of funny. But Father Cornelius Vito knocks him out and takes his vehicle so they can get to the airport. But Dallas manages to get up in time and make it before them. You get like a funny scene where David, who's Father Vito's like I'm gonna just say not accomplice, because that's like a villain term, but like protege, and tries to pose as Dallas, and then one of Zorg's people tries to pose as Dallas, but the real Dallas shows up, and this is where we get the multi-pass line, and they manage to get to the airplane. This is where we meet Rudy Rod, Chris Tucker's character, who, yeah, he is kind of playing Chris Tucker, but he does it so well, like, especially compared to the other movies he was doing at the time. Because he wasn't like... Because in the end of the day, this is a more serious kind of movie for him. This wasn't like just some, like... It wasn't like I Love Friday, but Friday was just a stoner comedy. And Money Talks is just your typical buddy comedy. This was like an actual, like, in like big sci-fi production, and he did really good. I gotta give it to him, and I thought he did great as like the comedic value, but he didn't overdo it. They knew how to do like comedic characters, like that are like the comedic for like they're the comedy of the movie, but they knew how to do it back then. They didn't like overdo it to where they're annoying. Like, I didn't feel like at any point Chris Tucker was annoying in this movie. And the way we were first introduced to him, and he's hooking up with one of the people from the flight. I'm not gonna lie, that was fucking funny. And they land at Holston Paradise while Zorg blows up the part of the airport because one of his guys fucked up getting in the airport. So when they arrive at Holston Paradise, he's he goes with Rudy to the opera. Lilu will wait in Diva's room. And just like The thing about this movie is just this mainly the setting and the world that is around it. Yeah, the story is good, but the world around it, like every scene, you can just look around. Like even when they get to the airport, you can just like look and see what's in the scenery and all that. It's so fucking good. Like every scene, I felt like okay, there's something that's catching me here. So Luc Besson did a really good job, and the score is beautiful. Especially when we get to, I'll just kind of jump ahead a little bit when we finally get to the scene where Diva sings. It's fucking beautiful, you know. And they did a really good job of making, like, not just with her the costume and the prosthetics, but like the music. Like they made the music sound futuristic. Like they did a really good job with that, and the even just like the background, you got like this view of fucking Earth, and it looks really good. It doesn't just like, oh, that's like a CGI video game. They actually did a really good job with, like, God, man, this is just such a great movie. So while this is happening, the Mangalores arrive. Lilu realizes this, fights them, and she does it in a way, once again, where they knew how to, like, when women fought, they made it believable. And also, she was a being. She had powers, and it's mentioned. So it's not like, oh, she just. But never mind. So she takes him out, but Zorg shows up, and she has to climb in the vents, but Zorg ends up shooting up to the vents, and she actually gets hit. So Zorg sets up a bomb, and after Diva's done performing, the Mangalores show up and shoot her, and her death is pretty tragic too. Like it's done really well, and while her dying words to Dallas, basically, she has the last stone in her stomach, and she basically tells him, you gotta help and love Lilu, and basically protect her. And so Dallas leaves the stones with Rudy Rod while he fights the Mangalores, and it's such a dope action scene. When we get to the action scenes, he is just fucking taking them out, man. He just comes out fucking shooting. He takes him out. Basically, yeah, he takes out the Mangalores and goes back to retrieve Lilu. While this happens, Zorg seemingly takes the stones, but he realizes he didn't. Goes back while Dallas and the gang escape, and before it's too late, Zorg ends up stopping the bomb, but one of the fallen Mangalores set off a bomb and basically blow it up, and while everyone else escapes in a ship, and they fly back to the temple and to try to and I like that in this too. Like it's not they didn't go the traditional like route of, oh, they're gonna confront Zorg in the end or something. No, Zorg gets blown up, and now it's about trying to save Earth. Like it's such a different type of story. Like it, because the whole movie doesn't feel like it's about saving Earth. Like you get that in bits, definitely, especially in the scenes with Vito and he's talking to her. But like it's such a that's the thing about this movie. It's like it's hard to like really go into like why it's such a unique movie. But Luc Besson outdid himself. Easily his best movie. One of my favorite Bruce Willis movies. He played it really good as Corbin Dallas. Just a great character movie too. But anyway, they get to the temple, and Lilu's like kind of like out of it, and she also like starting to kind of like not trust humans, so she doesn't want to fully help. While they're trying to figure out the stones, and they realize they got to use each of the elements on the stone, which is earth, water, fire, and then they manage to make it work, and he kisses Lilu. It sets up this whole thing, and they manage to stop the great evil from happening. and the president comes to give him like kind of like give him congratulations, but they're having sex in the tank basically, and the movie ends. Such an awesome movie. I really just fucking love it. It's the aesthetic, the world it's built in, and I like that it's a one off. I really like that. I understand there probably is some people who want a sequel, but I don't. I don't really see where you could go with a second one, and it would just. Unfortunately, I feel like a Fifth Element 2 would just become another sci fi story. I think what made Fifth Element at the time unique because it was. It didn't try to be like another sci fi property, it did its own thing. You know, the alien designs were great, the story was a fun story. But this the characters like Lilu and Dallas's connection was every scene they're in. I thought they were really good together, and Dallas is just a fun character. Chris Tucker as Rudy Rod, man, because yeah, you think he's just this like pop singer, but he's actually like actually working with the president, and he plays it like really well. And he doesn't. The fact that he kind of is a little bit, you do get a lot of those Chris Tuckerisms in there. Like the scene where Dallas kills a lot, the last of the Mangalores with the bomb, him fucking screaming, like that's Chris Tucker. Like that very much is. But he does a really good job, and he doesn't feel like he's annoying either. Because you can have your comedic element, comedic value characters. There's nothing wrong with that. Comic relief. I don't know why. Word was escaping me the whole time. Comic relief characters done well. If you don't like, if they're not overbearing, like not once. And he also comes in a little bit later in the movie, so I think that does help. Like he's not in all of it, but yeah. So I definitely love this movie. I would definitely recommend watching it just for the world, just to see the world, and the fact that it's a one-off makes it that much better because a sequel would just be another sci-fi. I just don't really see what they could do with a sequel that would make it like it's gonna stand out against any other sci-fi property that's happening now. So I would just leave it at that. R.I.P. Tiny Lister. He did great as the president in every scene he was in. He felt actually presidential. Like, I remember watching this the first time I had seen him in Friday. I was like, Devo's the president? But the fact that he plays it great in this and he fits. Every character fits. So, and Gary Oldman as Zorg is probably the VIP for me for the movie. He fucking, every scene he was in was fucking great. Even up to his death. And he was a simple villain. He wasn't like no crazy backstory. He was just, I want the stones to cause chaos because that's just how I am. Boom. Simple. It works. He's so good. And Mila Jovovich as Lilu is great. It's, one of those kind of key to everything stories where it can be, because sometimes not just, there's a term the girl, the key to everything. I just think because there are two key to everything because there are boys too. I think there's a way to do it, and I think they did it right with her. And Mila Jovovich playing, like, starting off basically speaking in just random gibberish to speaking English is fucking great. So, and every scene she's in is great, and obviously we get the multi-pass line from this movie. So, and Bruce Willis just killed it. So, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. One of Luc Besson's best film, but one of the best like science fiction films ever. So, I don't know what my next review will be yet. I'll figure something out. But other than that, I will talk to y'all on Monday. But I'm gonna cheers one more time. But as usual, fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck LeBron. Fuck Seth Rogen. Fuck Kevin Smith. And fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all Monday. Peace.